Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I am joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Dearhart and my boyfriend Chad. And today we are talking about gay sex, and in particular, talking dirty. You sexy motherfuckers. I bet you fucking love that. Yeah? You like that? You fucking pig. Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Okay, guys, some big news here. We've never done this before, but today, for a limited time, we are offering 6 months for the price of 3. And yes, you'll get instant access to our full library of hot cock-throbbing videos. But wait, there's so much more. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with people that say, I don't want to pay for porn. And you know what? I get that. I think I used to be one of those people. I'm trying to not read this like it's a script, but it didn't. But with Himeros.tv, you're not just paying for the erotic videos. You're paying for the change those videos will bring to your life and in your sex, because each video is created by a team of gay sex experts, people like Finn, tantric instructors, sex coaches, and sexologists. For just pennies a day, you can apply the videos to your life and experience more pleasure, deeper connections, and increased intimacy. You've been listening to this podcast, and now it's time to take the plunge and see what all the fuss is about. So how do you take advantage of this special offer? Get 6 months for the price of 3 at himeros.tv/wow. That's himeros.tv/WOW. Unrelated, by the way, to the airline that went out of business today.
What?
That's just coincidental. Wow Airlines went out of business today.
Completely out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
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 That was right.
R.I.P. to those cheap flights.
Nice. Okay, so how are you guys?
I'm good. Yeah. I get anxious when we talk about flights though these days.
Yeah. I was just booking Finn's flight for Sweden because we're doing a project there this summer for like a tantric retreat, and oh my god, that was like a act of God to try to find a flight that would get you there for less than $10 million. But you're gonna be there.
I am gonna be there. I'm gonna be exhausted and ready.
You know who else is gonna be there?
Yeah, I do. To whom are you referring?
This is the quiz. Pop quiz. Who's gonna be there? Chad's gonna be there.
Quiz. I'm gonna be there.
Okay. I was like,
yeah, I'll be helping out with the shoot.
Awesome. Chad, what's your role?
I will be assisting in production, helping make sure everything runs smoothly and efficiently, and I'll also be photographing some of the events and the tantra section of it too.
Oh, I just meant like top or bottom.
Oh, verse.
It's that kind of podcast, girl. So that'll be fun. I have an update for you guys from last week. Chad knows this because we've chatted about it already. But Finn, do you remember last week we read that long email from? I think we really need to get the guy in the show, but the guy who was talking about the masturbation techniques.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned a technique where you squeeze the pelvic floor and like you can like manipulate your orgasm, your ejaculation. So I tried it twice.
Oh yeah.
This is my update. And basically, I mean, you squeeze it like, I guess it's the pelvic floor, right? That's like the way to describe it. Like the
your PC, yeah. The muscle that you use to stop peeing.
Exactly. And so I would squeeze it just as I was about to come. And I don't think it was like fully developed enough because it doesn't fully stop the cum, but I kind of just like my load kind of like oozes out. Like, and it's like I can't even there's a different kind of orgasm. Like it's hard to describe it. But I'm still horny. So like I come ish and then like stay hard and I'm still horny like thereafter. Maybe like I have like a 30-second downtime and then I'm ready to go again. Weird. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Is it normal? Is it normal, Finn?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, is to like keep the spasm from happening. So, like if you're are you saying that you didn't feel the spasms that start shooting the cum? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal, is to like clench and hold the PC, keep the spasm that would make you ejaculate from happening, experience the orgasm wave, as long as you can go with that, and then you can keep going, and then you eventually have the sensitivity to learn how and when to let the spasms just happen.
Wow, I'd be curious if anyone at home has anyone listening to the podcast. If you try to email us in and tell us about your experience, I can share it.
Yeah, the fact that it kind of like oozes out, like we were talking about last week, the endurance thing. That's kind of what happens for me too. Is having the endurance to clench and hold that throughout the entire orgasm cycle can be a little challenging. So you work on it and the endurance.
Have you tried that, Chad?
No, I've never experienced that, where it's kind of like left you hungry for more.
Well, you were explaining to me when you come, or when you jerk off, like it's usually for a specific reason, right? And that's not to like
yeah. Yeah, it's I guess for me, when I jerk off, it's usually because I'm definitely feeling horny, and I also feel that it's like a good way to like cleanse my mind and like allow me to focus on my day, essentially, in a way.
It's like hygiene.
Yeah, exactly. It's like wake up, brush your teeth, shower, deodorant, come, typical routine.
Yeah, as a college student with like a busy schedule, I guess like you wouldn't be like, all right, let me see what's going to bring me the most pleasure today as I experience my ejaculation in new and exciting ways.
Yeah, how long does this like the whole technique or process usually take?
What do you mean?
Like this new type of masturbation where you like clench and like is it something that can like happen within like minutes, or is it kind of something that you work at and then, or is it dependent on each body?
Yeah, it's dependent on everybody. His own connection to that. Some guys have a hard time even being present enough with their bodies to know when they're about to ejaculate versus when they're orgasming, and some guys are so sensitive to that, and then you can like work in that space, but it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
To me, it takes like 15 to 30 minutes to like watching porn to get close to coming, and then it's just a matter of actually like clenching that muscle when I'm coming to kind of like hold that ejaculation in. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll continue with the updates.
30 minutes.
Is that a long time?
I mean, it's a long time. I just remember. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on the state of mind. It could take me just a couple of minutes, or it could take a long time if I'm not highly aroused. So I just remember whenever I was younger, it could be like a minute or two. Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days.
My dick's too callous now. It takes me a half hour to feel anything.
You're like sweating and grunting and trying to get there.
Well, that's the thing, is like it takes me so long to come that like once I get there, the idea of like holding that come in is kind of like it requires a shift in my mindset, because I'm just like, it's a very different approach, and it is usually like I want to come so that I can fucking focus on whatever it is I have to do in my life. So this is definitely...
and there's a corresponding element of embodiment that comes with it too, because that's like a fundamental a hurdle to cross, actually, that we come up against when we're playing with these techniques, because if you're like, you're watching porn, or if you're in your mind fantasizing and trying to come, it's like trying to get more pleasure out of your body, but doing it through images in your mind instead of just being fully in the body. So, there's a lot more pleasure that can be had just by being embodied, and it makes the sensitivity turn up anyway. So yeah, it kind of can like be a trade-off. It's like, I don't want to let go of like this orgasm I'm about to have, but then I think the trade-off is like being able to experience more and more full body orgasms. So it's not like, oh, I lost anything.
Yeah.
It's just it's a different kind of pleasure, and then it can open up a lot more.
Yeah, it's just hard when it's like taking you 30 minutes to get to that point, of like, okay, finally I'm there. Now you're telling me to not cross over,
Right.
you know? So I get
Right,
it.
I know. I get it too, brother. I totally hear that.
So
I like the cum so much too that I love cum.
yeah, samesies. All right, so Chad, I know you have a story from an experience that you had last night. Do you care to elaborate?
Yeah.
These are our hot topics.
Hot topic of the day. So, yeah, yesterday I had this really amazing experience. I hooked up with this guy who was in an open relationship, dot, 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 with a girl. And
Dun-dun-dun.
da, da, da. And he was very open in the beginning about how he wasn't experienced hooking up with other guys, and he was really interested in getting fucked. And he wanted and I was a little hesitant at first because with that comes a lot of preparation that someone who's curious and in college might not necessarily take on. But we were having a full-on conversation beforehand, and he was like, so how does someone prepare? So I was lucky enough to kind of give him the role, sent him Davey's link
Did you really?
on
Did
how
you
to
really send him the video?
yeah, I said, here's how you douche.
I have a
I was like,
YouTube
here's how.
video explaining all the details.
I've showed that to so many people here. I can't even begin to explain.
You're welcome. I feel like next time I
thank
pick you up at school, they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's the guy from the douching video."
That's what you're known for around these parts.
Yeah.
And so when we first met up, he was really excited and nervous, and he usually when people are like excitable and they're like nervous and they're curious and they haven't quite done it, they kind of take like a hands off approach where they kind of just like lay there and they're like, do your worst. But he was actually very, very like hands-on and way more like interactive, which was a really great experience. He was also very verbal and like talkative about like what he liked and what he didn't like, and kind of diving into that. And
So he
as we
didn't douche,
progressed,
right?
no, he didn't douche, because he
Despite the
didn't
video.
have. Despite the video, yeah. So he actually sent me an article immediately after, and it was like, here's how you do it if you don't douche, essentially. And it was like a mid-step clean, but it actually was clean, thank God, through and through. No shit on this dick.
Yeah. This
Was
is
the girl there?
The girl was not there. Yeah, she was not present, but she gave him the green light to go ahead initially. Thank God.
This is
Right.
why you're a better person than I am. Because if someone didn't do like I think that would just be a hard no for me. Like you're you're so much more. I think when you're in college, you have more of a spirit of adventure. You can stay in a hostel, you know, like I'm just like too old for that shit. Yeah. I'm like I just
Resiliency.
Resilient to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not a lot of people, I guess, like also when you live in college dorms a lot of times, the restrooms are all public, and it's not like you have a sink. It's not, you don't have a sink and a toilet all like right in one stall kind
Oh
of thing. So
wow. I never thought about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it definitely, it's like way more of a process that you get around it by like bringing a case of water bottles into the bathroom with
God.
you. Like they get pretty crafty around here.
It is so difficult being gay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just having that conversation earlier about how much preparation like to have sex. It's less of a like if you go out to a bar or you know, and you like meet someone at the end of the night, like the odds of that they're like super clean and ready to go to have sex right after the bat, it's definitely different.
Yeah. It's not enough that we get discriminated against, that, you know, that there's prejudice and all the barriers that we have to overcome. We fucking shit out of the hole that we have sex with. Thank you, Jesus, for that. We really needed another thing. Thanks so much. So it was his first time bottoming, right?
Yes, it was. And the crazy experience about it, and he left my apartment grinning ear to ear, was that he came without touching his dick at all. And he was so shocked. He was like, that has never happened to me. And he was just like ecstatic.
Girl, you did him right.
I did it right. Yeah, hit the right spots.
So he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the. I wonder how that's gonna shape his relationship with his girlfriend too, because it sounds like they're very open. I wonder if she's gonna try like pegging him with like a strap on or something.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I actually asked him about it, because him and his girlfriend use toys on each other, um, in their sex life too, in their like personal life, and I believe that she has used the toys on him.
Oh, she has. Okay, so he
Yeah,
hasn't bought him for like a dick per se, but
yeah,
he's
he's
okay.
had a toy up there.
Yeah, nice. Um, cool. Well, that's exciting. I saw pictures of him on Instagram. I was
Yeah.
nosy earlier, and Chad sent me pictures.
Mhm. Would you do it with the girl there too?
Me, actually, yeah. So I was actually thinking about that, and I think I probably would have. I would probably interact with both of them. They're a very, very beautiful couple, and their energy is really like on point and radiant and vibrant and like
Mhm.
really electric is how I'd probably
Yeah.
describe them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. I think that could be really hot.
we were talking about
Yeah.
this earlier because that's how you initially approached it with me, was that you were going to have sex with him and her at the same time,
Mhm.
and it's just so interesting, like because there's such a there's 14 years age difference between Chad and myself, and I feel like I'm so much more rigid in my like experience of sex than Chad is. Like I'm a gay man, I have sex with men, like I like it's whereas Chad is much more kind of fluid and playful with like sex and sexuality and even like gender expression and like how you'll
Mhm.
put on girl clothes and paint your nails, and I do a little bit of that, but it's such a healthier approach that you have. It's such a better balance than I think us old folks are so rigid in our ways. Thank God for you young people. That's my
I
rant.
mean,
That's all
I
I
think
get.
I think that a lot of the lot of the reason why I'm able to do that is like to embody both the masculine and feminine is like the pave way that quote unquote the old guys set up for us, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 You can build on it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm glad you are.
me too.
I honestly think that people would be more, just people in general would be more open to exploration if there were like counter narratives in the culture around what it meant to be a guy having sex with a girl or vice versa, because it's so, for men just in general, even though we're gay, we still have this tremendous amount of like performative tendency to try to be masculine or try to live up. It's like a performative act in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, just from personal anecdotal evidence, I did have a wife, and I related to her through this idea that like I was the guy fucking the girl, and I never felt like fully authentic on a sexual level. That's that took a long time for me to really sort out. But after I came out of the closet, there were instances where I would be at like a party or I would be somewhere like at a club, and girls would come on to me. And since I was openly gay and they were into that, it kind of shifted things for me. And my fantasies around women, like I don't think about fucking girls. I don't feel like feeling that role. But now it's like I do fantasize sometimes about like a woman watching me get fucked, or there's some friends of mine, some women in my life that I feel very emotionally close to, and it comes up for me where I think it'd be really hot for them to see me, or just to, like sit in a bathtub with me and watch me jack off, or like watch me play with my boyfriend. So that it's kind of shifted because it's more authentic. It's like who I really am, and then I can feel close enough. And I kind of think that a lot of people, if we felt more safely authentic in our own sexual expression, we might have more fluid kind of interaction that way too. But I mean, gender roles are really binding and can kind of constrict our expression a lot.
I feel like I'm even further removed, that like I don't even for the most part like feel those inclinations of like
Mhm.
experiencing something with a woman, or like because I'm just, the story I've told myself over and over again is like I'm gay and this is what it means to be gay, and that even if
Mhm.
a really hot guy with like a really sexy girlfriend approached me about having a threesome, I feel like I would just it'd be so
Mhm.
far outside my wheelhouse, or so far outside the story I've told myself of who I am, that like I honestly
Mhm.
don't know if I could do it. Um But thankfully, there's people like Chad that are creating some of those counter narratives and showing what the possibilities can be.
Do you have any?
They're endless.
Do you have any women friends in your life that you feel really close emotionally with, or are you around women on any kind of intimate basis a lot? Because I know like a lot of gay men are around a lot of other gay men, but sometimes gay guys are really close with a female, and then it can end up kind of shifting.
Yeah, I mean, more older women, like in their 60s and stuff. So,
Oh yeah, you're like, so you have like,
there's just a lot of obstacles there.
yeah.
We're not going there. Not save that for another
Another
What if a woman approaches you and says, "I want you to cuckold my husband. Will you do that?" And I just want to sit and swirl a glass of wine and watch.
Ooh. Would you?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think
I
it's
just
really.
want you to call him a faggot. I want you to like tie him up and fuck him, and I just want to see it because it makes me so hot.
Oh my God. I don't know. Well, first of all, as we're going to get into, I'm really bad at the dirty talk. So I don't know about that. But what I thought was hot, I mean, there's a guy that I have hooked up with who up until recently was married. And like, I thought it was super hot that he was married, but his wife wasn't there. And I don't know that she knew about it. And that was like as close as I think I could get to
to a girl being involved in the dynamic.
Yeah. You know what I did say though? Once I said, he was fucking me, and I think I said like he said something about my ass being tight, and I was like, yeah, I was like, am I tighter than your wife's pussy?
Wow.
And then he got really soft and left. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
Anyway,
it's like a power struggle. You're having a power struggle with his wife, and she's not even there.
Yeah. Anyway, switching gears, Finn. Tell us about your upcoming experience. You have a tantra experience, retreat, something. What's going on? Tell me about Easton Mountain.
Oh yeah. So, well, we were talking last week about what you're doing with Jason Tantra. This is his event in Easton Mountain in upstate New York, and my partner and I are both going to be teaching there. It's gonna be super fun. A lot of festivals or like workshops can be organized in such a way where there's like, you get the choice of what workshop to attend and people kind of split up into their own thing. But the cool thing about this particular event is that all 5 of us teachers that are going to be involved are going to be just kind of creating a wave that everybody that comes to the festival are going to be going through together cohort. And it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's August 6th through 11th in upstate New York, and it's on Jason Tantra's website. It's called the Tantra Experience.
Do you have a specific like itinerary or like class that you're teaching?
Yeah, there's multiple facets of it. I'm doing some work around intimacy with guys, just having the space for them to explore and experience intimacy with men that they don't know fully. And then I'm also doing a desire portion, which my partner and I are both doing that. So leading them through a desire journey, different aspects of desire.
Oh my God. Are you going to get naked in front of everyone?
I usually wear a jockstrap for those events.
Wow. Is Sam going to be naked?
He wears jockstraps too. It's interesting. I love that you asked that question because there's some tantra instructors do get naked, some don't, and it's a boundary that I'm still in real time trying to figure out. I had a jockstrap on at the last workshop that I taught in New York, and I had a moment where I felt kind of a little irritation because one of the participants was scoping me out and kept like multiple times. I saw him. I just want to be like, pay attention to what you're doing with your partner. Don't look at me in this way. But I know I didn't want to just like wear full on clothes and be so offset from what they're doing because they were naked and like playing with each other. So I just am learning where that line is for me.
Yeah. Well, you're a snack. What can we say?
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, I did ask for this, but it was like every time I turned around, he was like staring at my butt, and I thought, like, well, I brought this on, but it's also his experience, if that's what he.
Yeah, I get what you're saying though.
My workshop.
I get what you're saying because you want to be like, hey, I'm here and I'm like in this with you guys, but also like I'm not here in that capacity for you all. And so like a jockstrap to me seems like it kind of walks that line. Like it's
Yeah. It's sexy. It's revealing. It definitely feels slutty to me, especially when I'm doing some demonstrations. Like I'm down on all fours, and it's like everybody can see right at my ass crack, but it didn't feel like I was available for like more because I do want to keep a tight boundary from an ethics perspective.
Don't you feel like we walked this line when we were at the clothing optional hotel in Key West that like like it was like wearing a Speedo when we'd go out to the pool? Because if you were naked, it was like
all eyes on you.
Yeah,
all
and
eyes on you everywhere.
Eyes and more. Eyes and hands and fingers and tongues. So
well, I think the craziest part about that was that no one like approached or like really said anything. They just kind of like stood in their corners and was nonstop staring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stare can feel like a hand sometimes. I can.
Yeah. A cock.
Yeah.
There's a guy at the gym that I go 6 days a week to the gym, and he's there every day, every morning. And he like drinks me in with his eyes every single morning. And I don't look at him. I don't have to look at him. I know that I can feel his eyes burning into me. And it's just this like take feeling that I get from him. And I just want to be like, but like, what is this about? Like, I'm not reciprocating it. I've been going to this gym for a fucking year. Like, if I was mutually interested, I would have had ample opportunity by now to express that to you, and I haven't. Like, what are you getting from this? Like, what is this satisfying? I don't like, what's the story? I don't know.
Yeah, dude. There's a guy that happens sometimes too at the gym as well. And I think for one thing, gay guys, we cruise a lot. Eyes can be the window to let us know that it's okay, but the eyes can also say when we're not okay with it. And I've been in a situation where I don't want to go into like my trauma self where I'm like, oh God, I'm being, but I can, if someone's doing that and staring and I start to feel like emotionally smaller. So what I've been trying lately is I just like look right back at them, like full on presence, just like acknowledging them and look them in the eye and smile and just stare back, but from a very different spot, like kind of like, yeah, wow. I see you. And I actually don't want anything further, and I'm acknowledging you. And then if they don't, I'm prepared to say, hey, I know you probably don't mean it, but I'd like some privacy and wonder if you might let me have some space.
Wow. You bring up a really great point. Because I mean, like, if this dynamic has been going on for a year and it hasn't changed, why do I think it's going to change by me just continuing to do what I keep doing?
Right. But it's hard because I also don't like the confrontation, but it,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It takes a lot of strength.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just the guy that
smile. He does that every day. And he follows other people around too. I've watched him. It's just like that's what he does. He goes to the gym and he just kind of like stares people down. And I don't think maybe he does, but I don't think he realizes how invasive it is and how violating it can feel.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for sharing that, actually, Finn. That I had a little like empowering moment there when you shared that. I think I am gonna like find my strength and look back at him with a completely different energy and just be like, oh, hi, good morning. Because that's not what he wants. Like, what he wants is like, grab my crotch.
The eye fuck.
Let's go to the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel sometimes like when I get like kind of like, oh God, and I get like upset in the inside, I think it almost feeds it a little bit because then I kind of act sheepish and smaller than I am emotionally. I like, hey bro, can I get some space? Thank you. That'd be awesome. And just people, they're like, oh God, they like can't hang out in that kind of acknowledgement.
Yeah. Can't hang out. No room here. The seat's taken.
Party of one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. Shall we? This week's video?
Yeah.
All right. This week's video is titled Dirty Talk, and it features Bishop Black and Chris Blunt. The film opens with the guys on a bed. It's also funny because I realized how infrequently we use beds. I was like, oh, there's a bed in this. Like, a lot of our videos are anywhere but the bed. They're on staircases, they're at campfires, they're in pools, they're in the forest. But this one, and that's kind of intentional because your bed obviously is like made for sleeping. And we want people to inject some creativity into the sex that they're having. So anyway, this one's on a bed, and the guys, they talk dirty and they fuck and they come. It's very dreamy in the way that it's filmed. Like the lighting is really cool. It's in Amsterdam. It's in the old hotel that we filmed in. So I have a quote from Brad Amberhart, who wrote the concept. And he recently saw the video for the first time. And he said, we have a merging of the profane, the nasty fuck talk, with deep intimacy and connection. In fact, these models and the director, I feel, did a superb job of letting the audience in on a very important piece of wisdom. Some of the deepest, most intimate connection between men happens precisely at the moment when they let down their guards and just let themselves get plain nasty. So, I mean, for me watching it, I think it's surprising how, for a video that's about dirty talk, it's surprising how intimate it is. Like, I guess I just didn't necessarily think of like talking nasty to someone and intimate sex as being hand in hand. And I enjoyed that this video kind of did that. But I also am very bad at talking dirty. This is kind of full disclosure. I think I've mentioned this before in the podcast. And even until recently, I think I haven't even given myself permission to like moan and groan during sex. Chad, you haven't met me. We haven't been having sex long enough for you to know how quiet I used to be. But I think in how I was like conditioned to have sex quietly and like hold my breath and do all those things, I was very quiet. And now I still haven't found my like dirty talk voice, but I can at least, I haven't found my dirty talk voice.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that a contrast that you're highlighting now?
Yeah, definitely.
But I do moan and I groan. I give myself permission to do that. So my question for you guys is like, do you feel that you're good at talking dirty, and do you believe it's something that you're born with, or is it something that you can work on? Go.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more dependent on who my partner is that I'm experiencing something with. Sometimes like I'm with someone in the capacity is more like softer touches and kind of like a gentler experience, where other people it's rigid and rough, and that you can like pick up immediately on their cues that they want like a verbal, like they kind of like, and it's also based on like a dominant, I think like there's a lot of domination that can be had with it, and with that being a sub with that too.
So you can talk dirty as like the dom top, or you can talk dirty as like a like sub bottom, right? Like
yeah, exactly. I think, and it also is dependent on each individual, but I've in my personal experiences, I've definitely had kind of both sides of that coin, where I've been like, oh yes, like fuck yes, fuck the shit out of me. And then other times where
when have you said that?
It was in P-Town.
When I was fucking you, you think you talked dirty?
Yeah, I mean, my head was buried in the pillow, but I definitely was more verbal. There was a lot of grunts for sure. For sure in there.
What are you saying? Oh, it's so tight. My butt's so tight. That doesn't count. Like, take your time.
That doesn't count as dirty talk.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've ever heard you talk like really, really dirty. I tried the other day when we were on FaceTime when you had just woken up, and I was like, yeah, show me your morning wood. Remember that? I was like telling you I wanted to suck your dick. That was my effort.
Yeah.
It's a conscious
girl,
effort.
it was a mess in the morning. But yeah, I also think it depends on the person though, because sometimes you just get that like ignition, that like ignited fire where you just like let it all out.
Well, I think it's yeah, you're right. I think it is dependent on the person. And I think it's actually harder for me to talk dirty to you than it is with just like someone that I hook up with, because like, you know me, and like also talking dirty requires like vulnerability. It's sometimes harder to show that side of yourself to someone that you really love. Whereas if I'm just in this hookup, I can kind of step into this role and like, I'm probably never going to see this person again. And like, I don't care about their judgment as much versus like being with you. I don't know. Finn, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I just love that what you're disclosing. I think it's really sweet to hear you both talk with each other about this, and it does highlight something that we all experience. I mean, also to the idea of just like throwing ourselves, whole body, soul, and spirit into sex requires that we use our throat in some kind of way. Like it doesn't have to be talking dirty, but it like making sounds. But I think a very large majority of people struggle to talk or make sound. It's like a universal thing that accompanies shame around sex and fantasy. I mean, words themselves are fantasy. They're like an erotic shorthand. They're a symbol for a spot inside of us that like really highly arouses us. So everybody's version of talking dirty is going to be different, and then if you're not really in touch with what really turns you on and what's your unique blueprint, you might say stuff that you just heard in porn. And I think that's kind of a phase that we go through, like trying to find our voice, and I hear it all the time with men that I work with, myself included. I love talking dirty. I love it so much. And I used to have phone sex a lot when I was younger, especially. It was really hot to me. And I just love to talk raunchy. And with boyfriends, it's always been a really big struggle for me until recently. And I've been bringing some really conscious intention to changing that, So
Why is it hard for you with a boyfriend?
For the same reasons. I mean, because and just the universal experience, like we risk being humiliated or like being embarrassed, or like if this person that we're wanting to approve of us laughs or doesn't get us, it's like an invalidating experience. And then around sex, it's so tender, and underneath all the fun of it all, it's like really highly vulnerable because it's so innate to who we are, and it's already been trampled upon a lot. And so we're bringing all that inside us to somebody. And that's why it's so easy to do that. Like on the phone, it's easier for me to do that with someone I don't know, like you said, because I'm like, well, I'm already like making up who this person is to me. They're not my partner that I also share my life with and want to approve of me. So saying things to him, it's like, I like, sometimes I feel like the words will be like in my throat, just ready to come out. And I'm just like hovering there being like, oh God, can I say this? Can I say this? And I want to so bad. And I've been bringing some really focused intention around that lately, and it's shifting and it feels really fun.
Chad, do you think would you laugh at me if I started talking dirty to you?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of the fear that comes from it is that we see like the sweet sides of each other and the softer sides of each other. But I think that like necessarily when you talk dirty, I don't think that takes away from the sweet sides. It shows a different angle of you. And I think a lot of times we're focused on portraying ourselves in this one way, when in reality we're so complex and so diverse, especially when we're having like these intimate experiences.
We just filmed a video in last week when we were doing our retreat. I think I had mentioned this, called Harder and Softer, and it shows a couple oscillating between like the extremes of hard touch and the extremes of soft touch to show couples and people like in your sex what a spectrum of touch and experiences and flavors are available to you to tap into, and that like you can be sweet and soft and also hard and strong with someone, and like and in fact doing that, it creates a more full and complex experience of sex. So all right.
Definitely.
I'm empowered. This is such an empowering podcast.
It is. Power to the people. I think that I encourage people all to, whoever's listening, and also especially boyfriends, like you guys are talking about this, super cool that you're doing this even online. But if you don't, you run the risk, like, people think, oh, well, I don't have to do that. I can just kind of like, enjoy parts of myself with other people. And that's true. But, like doing it with each other, it allows you to keep growing with each other and to like not just get bored, because there's just so much more to open up to learn about each other. So
definitely.
Yeah. And then, like, talking dirty can kind of really put us in conflict with like this preferred self-image that we have of ourselves too. And like being in a boyfriend relationship or a partnership kind of like makes us kind of split between like our intimate selves versus like our dirty selves that we've been hiding our whole lives.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Finn, you mentioned something that came up for me. So I did a Google search. I did some research about tips for talking dirty, and
Yeah.
they all were kind of saying the same thing. So I boiled it down into 3 points. And the first was say what is authentically turning you on in the moment rather than memorizing canned lines from various examples.
Totally.
So this is all about like using creativity and authenticity. And it's funny because Matt in a previous episode was talking about how he talks dirty. And I was like, well, what are some of your lines? Like, because I was thinking, like, I'm going to memorize them and make them my own. But what they're saying, like, for this to really work is you don't just say what you heard, you say what's true to you. No fucking shit. Like, it's so obvious when they say it, but it's not something that you would necessarily think of otherwise, you know?
Yeah, because it's like your own, like that's what I'm he has their unique like blueprint and their theme that they're running and what kind of like erotic person you think you are on the inside, even if that is in conflict with your sexual choices and behaviors. So saying something that's really true for you puts you in that vulnerable spot again, is like, am I going to be validated for this and seen and really this other person get excited about me, or are they going to just like laugh at me and I'll just shut down and collapse over it, you know? So it's touching some of the deepest core spots that we have. And that's why I think it's so fucking awesome to let it out, because that can be so exciting and feel amazing.
They also said tip number 2 is to be as descriptive as possible. So this is like, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, well, what would I say? Like, oh, like I want you to fuck me, you know, or like this feels good. And this is saying, no, say something like, I fucking love it when you lick my balls and make me like grab the sheets because you're fucking me so hard, or like, you know, like you really have to use your adjectives and describe what it is that's turning you on in that moment. And the third tip was to use all of your senses, which is another great piece of advice. It's about what you're smelling, what you're tasting, what you're feeling, what you're hearing, you know, like that's a great thing to kind of pull from when you're trying to figure out like how you're going to articulate what it is that you're experiencing. That was it. Those are my 3 tips. Hope they helped, guys.
I love it. I actually have 3 tips as well. 3 on 3.
Let's do it. Give us the tip.
See, just like embracing the vulnerability to be the first thing, and just embrace that aspect, and it helps you establish like a safety. And I don't mean like a bodily safety, I mean like a psychological safety. So that's why, again, just to reiterate, that's why it feels more safe to do it with someone we don't know, because we don't risk any kind of psychological fracture necessarily. So embracing that on the front side and just being like, okay, well, this is vulnerable for me. And then with that, you can make a choice, you know, like, you know, how do I approach this? So that, like, secondly, if you're comfortable with yourself and you're ready just to skip to doing it with your boyfriend, great. But if not, some people really need to go through a phase of just self-acceptance on it. And I tell guys, and I've done this and it's really fun, I think, just talk dirty to yourself in the mirror or on a video, like you video yourself and you whack off and you just talk just raunchy until you find the note that's your own, you know? Because it's like, I would say,
oh my God.
Great idea.
I'm totally going to record a YouTube video doing this.
Oh, dude, that's a great idea. Yeah, like I would like do this and like talk to myself and just get worked up until you're really in this like worked up state. And then you'll notice when you watch it back, I would look and be like, oh, well, I'm totally faking that. Or, but you hit like a spot where you're like, no, that's me. You know, or the spot in the mirror where I finally would be like, oh my God, I'm actually with myself presently, and I'm not just saying stuff that I was fed, you know? So then you get really comfortable doing it with yourself, and then you can move to doing it with a boyfriend or a partner. But even then it's like bringing an intentionality to it, you know? So like what I did with my partner is we just both disclosed like, yeah, I feel kind of silly. Like I want to say these things, but I think you're going to laugh at me. And he'd be like, oh, I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm like, well, I promise I won't laugh at you either. And just kind of establish that framework. And then it helped to ease the tension around it. So then we just moved into it in that way. And it's totally true about the authenticity thing. Cause when the things that I would hold back to say to him were things I was really afraid he'd think I was like, just kind of weird about, or like, you know, like talking about him being like my little brother or something, like having these kind of things come out of me, which really enlivened the power dynamic that I was feeling. Like he's like licking my nuts or something. I'd want to just like talk to him like that. But I'm like, if I say this, it could like ruin it all. But it actually made him really excited because he could feel that it was real for me, and it made it really fun. And suddenly it just felt very electric just by letting it out. So it helped to ease that on the front side of things just by claiming it, and the connection that you feel with somebody too heals that fear. So then now I feel more empowered too, because like he's accepted me for that, and I don't have to hide that.
Wow.
Wow.
Chad, do you want to do it? Wow.
Yeah.
Himeros.tv/wow.
/wow.
Yeah. And whatever you think while you're fucking, like we all have these little thoughts, it's like we become this regressed kind of version of ourselves because it goes back to childhood, and sex is so enlivened with all kinds of emotions too that we don't want to like accept, like hostility and anger and like selfishness and jealousy, and just going into that space can be kind of a little scary, but I think that it definitely brings so much more fun to the table.
And I think also narcissism, like if I'm thinking about recording a video of myself touching myself, being like, yeah, you fucking like, yeah, like, oh, I can't even do it right now. But like, oh, your nipples are so pertinent or whatever. Like, like, what am I going to say to myself? And,
it's going to be fun. It definitely feels kind of weird. I encourage everybody, just do it and do it till it feels like you find yourself. And that's how I did it to help myself. And there's lots of other ways, but for me, that really worked till I just got where I was like, yeah. And like talking to myself, almost like I was looking at this other guy in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, that other guy's me. And it felt awesome.
So I should share that tomorrow I'm recording a YouTube video with a professional dom who is going to teach me to talk dirty. And he also said it was something that he had to work towards. That wasn't like, it wasn't natural to him. So, and it's funny because we both have voices that sound like lesbian gym teachers. So, like, people don't necessarily expect me to like shit talk them. Like, so we're going to do that tomorrow and make a video. And so maybe afterwards, the second part of the video will be me talking dirty to myself. Oh my God. I'm nervous. Chad.
You're nervous.
Chad, do you think we can do this with each other?
Yeah, I definitely think we can. We have this thing where we always tell each other what we like about each other. And I think if we just kind of feed off of that and dive into like what specifically about that do we like about each other, I think that will be like a really great starting point.
But I love everything about you.
Yeah, but what specifically?
Yeah, but the unknown is the fear. So even, I know it sounds a little, maybe it can kind of feel like, is this unsexy or whatever? But if you just tell each other up front, like maybe not when you're about to have sex, maybe on like a Tuesday, before your sex on Wednesday, you're like, I want to talk to you about this and this and this, or like I mentioned the little brother thing. I told him, my partner, about that, like at another time, like, God, I think about you a lot. Like you're like my little brother, and I just, like you're here to like serve me and in these moments when it comes up like that. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And he alluded to the fact that he was into it. So then once I was in the moment and actually felt like it was there, I wasn't working with this big fear anymore. I was like, yeah, I can do this.
How far do you take it? Are you like, Dad's going to hear us, keep your voice down?
No, I haven't done that. No, it's just more like, that's not as much the hotness to me. It's more just like, I almost like this like control that I have over him. I mean, I did have a little brother, and I didn't sexualize my actual brother, but I was in control a lot. Like I had to babysit all the time, and I was like in charge, so it's almost like I'm in charge of you, and you're just going to make me feel good, and this is your job. We're not going to tell anybody, but we know that this is what happens when we're by ourselves.
I'm uncomfortable and yet aroused.
Yeah, it's a cool dynamic.
Well, for me, it's a way to relate to being dominant, because my partner, he's 6'2", and I'm like 5'9". I mean, he's bigger than me. He's younger than me, but there are ways that I have to access my true sense of authenticity and my dominance with him. So if I just go based on size differential, I'm like, I'm the smaller guy,
Yeah. Same with us.
Yeah.
Chad thinks he's 6'2", so
that's my grinder height.
Yeah, he's 6'1", but we'll let him take that extra inch.
6.1.5.
No. And you had also mentioned something about when we were texting about this, about phone sex, how this is kind of like, I guess, in a similar vein.
Yeah.
Anything you want to touch on with that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I used to have a lot of phone sex and I loved it because I could have, it was like, for me, it was better than porn because I could actually talk to somebody. The interactive piece was really exciting for me. And, a lot of this happened when I was in the closet, but like there were like maybe like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was driving from Texas to San Francisco, and I was on a highway for a long time, and I'd been like driving for like 20 hours already, and I called a phone sex line and that I used to call, and was on the phone with this guy, and I was just driving down the road and talking dirty with him, and I got so into what I was doing in that I completely missed my exit that I was supposed to take, and I drove all the way to Sacramento. I like realized it, and I was like, fuck. I'd been on the road already for like a day and 3/4, and so I had to like turn around and add like an additional 2.5 hours to my trip. And
wow.
And by the time I actually got to San Francisco, it was like rush hour traffic too, so it just like totally fucked up my.
Your jeans were dripping in pre-cum.
Right. Yeah, but it was like I was really enjoying it. I was on the phone with this guy for a couple hours, just like talking to him and working through some fantasies with him, and yeah, so that was something I always like kept hidden about myself, and I haven't really done that in a long time, but I do that with my partner too, though. I do like to do that when we're apart from each other. I actually told you guys should do that.
Yeah. I've thought about it. I think I probably would do, actually, I don't know if I'd do FaceTime sex or phone sex, because like phone would certainly require more imagination, right? Because you don't have the visuals. But at the same time, I also would be less like critical of how I looked. If we're doing FaceTime, I'd want to make sure I hit like good angles and like.
Yeah, this man is looking at himself on FaceTime with me.
Right.
She's coming for me. She's coming for me. So we're coming up on the top of the hour, but let's get to some of these questions now. I don't know if we'll have time to go to all of them. Let's see what we can get to. Question number 1. Oh, by the way, if you guys have any questions, please send them to Davey at daveywavey.tv, and most likely we will answer on this podcast. Question number 1. I am going through a difficult breakup. My boyfriend dumped me after about 4 years of dating. I will never get those years back. My heart is broken, so I have a simple question to ask the Pussy Posse. This is the second time someone's referred to us as the Pussy Posse. Are they doing it? Are we getting trolled? Are they doing this because last week someone called us the Pussy Posse?
Yeah, at one point. I don't even know what that means.
I don't either, but
yeah, I'm quite confused.
Pussies create life, and if that's
Right.
what you're gonna, I take it as a compliment. Anyway, is it better to love and have your heart broken or never love at all? I honestly think life is easier. Also, if you're gonna come for us, that's like a cliche line. Thank you. I honestly think life is easier if you just do your own thing. I would never fall into the low pit that I am now. In other words, had they not been in love.
Yeah.
Also, this is an interesting question, I think, because all of us probably at one point or another have been there. I mean, not me, because I've never been dumped. Like, why would someone dump me? But I'm just kidding.
Because you won't talk dirty to him.
I actually have never been dumped. But I still have had that kind of experience. And sometimes it's harder to dump someone than it is to get dumped, I think. Like just seeing someone that you love and knowing that you're breaking their heart. Yeah. So the question is it better to love and have your heart broken or to never love at all? What do you think, guys?
Yeah. I definitely think it's better to love and have your heart broken. I think for me, I value my life based off incorrect. No, but I value my life based off of the experiences I have. And I think a lot of times letting someone go, knowing that we shared these real experiences and gained these memories, and it also teaches me a lot when I'm with like my previous partners. I feel like I grow as a person, and although it might really hurt and really suck to have that be broken apart, and you might feel so alone. Like you were strong and you were fiery before you met them, and you had these shared experiences that really gave you value and substance while you were together. But I think just because that ends, I don't think you should regret all the experiences you had.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
this question kind of negates the fact that like it's through our relationships that like these are all experiences that we learn and grow from, and like um I just watched Captain Marvel last night, and there was a line in it that I really liked. It said something like, "The end is also part of the journey," or there was something like that, and I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's speaking to this a little bit," and it's also hard to say that this person would never fall into the low pit that they are now had they never dated someone. I mean, if you like remove all the connection and intimacy from your life, like that sounds pretty miserable. Like I think it actually you might be in a lower pit than what you're feeling now.
Yeah, lack of connection, like the number one cause of like addiction and painful. Like I don't think that the loss of love. I had a teacher that once told me, like, if your heart breaks, let it break open. And that always really stuck with me. And it's totally true. I feel like you can't escape hurting. I mean, it's painful to be human. And that's part of the brilliance of this experience, I think. And so if you cut yourself off from love, you do feel an intense amount of numbness. And that's not a good thing either. So it's like, you choose what kind of life do you want to have, So I say, go for the love, learn what you can with it, let it show you, even the places that hurt inside us around like heartbreak can be like a map into a beautiful existence after we heal too. So, and it's going to affect you in so many other ways, and it'll affect the way you choose partners in the future. I just think that it's about growth, and we can't escape being hurt. So live as fully as we can. Yeah.
Wow. That was deep.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. Right. I love that. Let our heart break open. I mean, life is heartbreaking in and of itself. So go for it.
That's a really pretty saying too.
Yeah, we have two more questions. This next one comes from Instagram. I think these are pretty quick, so I'll try to get through these. Question number 2 is, I live in a small town in the western section of Canada where there is only one gay person. His name is Gary, and he's me. And then in all caps, how the fuck am I going to not die a virgin? Help a brother get laid. Thanks. that was my question. Yeah. Well, that was the question. So, yeah, Gary, you might need to make a road trip to Vancouver.
All right.
Yeah.
Get travel.
Also, I checked his profile, and I don't think he's that old. So I think you'll get your moment, Gary. I think it's I see it. There's your future has plenty of dicks in it for you. You'll get there. All right. Question number 3 doesn't really require much of it's not really a question, just more of a comment. So let me read through this. Hello, gentlemen. I came out later in life. Compared to me, you are all still children, but I'm impressed by the wisdom that you have amassed. I'm grateful that there are ears to listen and brains to absorb what you all have to say. Lord only knows I could have benefited from these conversations 40 or 50 years ago. When I came out, the freedom of my newfound life was nothing short of intoxicating. At long last, and after decades of lies and deceit, I emerged with true honesty to the folks around me. I can't tell you how profoundly and deeply, at the level of my soul, I was affected by living authentically. I would be grateful for the opportunity to tell your listeners that my only regret is not doing it sooner. I know that many of them have secrets in their hearts that they hold tightly. It could be disclosing their sexuality or even telling someone that they love him. Please learn from this old man. Don't die with your secrets untold.
Wow.
It's a great way to end the podcast, huh?
Yeah.
It is. Can I say something about that really quickly?
Yeah.
We have time? I just want this idea about lies and deceit. You know, I've said that to myself too, and a lot of people that come out have this thing, and I just want to encourage you, you know, hold a space of compassion for yourself about that. I think that lying and deceit kind of implies agency, like it was on purpose, and I imagine you're doing the best that you could, considering whatever you went through in your life. So I think even when we, you know, if it's like a lie, quote unquote, it's not like we did it on purpose, and that we should just try to hold compassion for ourselves about what it took to get here.
Mm. Yeah, no, and that doesn't take away from like the experience that he now has living his life authentically, and
Right.
yeah, and I guess it's a question for all of us to ask how we can all step into the direction of authenticity. I think it's a great place to end. Next week we're going to talk about a video titled "Dream While You Fuck." Finn, where can people find more of you?
Finndeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.com.
And Chad, where can people find you?
Your Instagram. I'm just kidding. But actually on Instagram at Chad_Remy, REMY.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, more to come.